Hello and welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast dedicated to igniting your entrepreneurial spirit and empowering you to conquer new horizons. In this podcast, we chat with inspiring entrepreneurs on their journey to success through some amazingly insightful and expansive conversations. These episodes thrive on thought-provoking chats where our guests fearlessly explore their path to success, sharing their experiences, failures, and triumphs. No topic is off limits as we deep dive into the talked about and not so talked about pieces it takes to build a business, overcome limiting beliefs, deal with personal struggles, and everything in between that shapes our lives and our businesses. I'm your host, Kat Ponceleon, creator and founder at The Lotus Effect, where we believe that success is not just about strategies and tactics, it's about cultivating a powerful mindset and creating customized business operations that align with you and your true purpose. Whether it's mastering time management, improving productivity, enhancing leadership skills, or simply fostering a growth-oriented mindset, we'll provide you with the tools and strategies to flourish in both your business and personal life. I'm so excited to have you join us today in this episode, so get ready to feel empowered and inspired as we learn together and from one another on how to rise above challenges, break through limitations, and unlock our full potential. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I am so excited to have you here with us today. I have such an amazing and beautiful guest I'm so excited to bring to you guys and have this wonderful conversation. So strap in, get ready to take notes because it's going to be amazing. So Nana, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today.
Thank you for inviting me. I am so happy to be here. And thank you. I'm honored that you decided to invite me.
Of course. I can't wait to share your story with everybody. So speaking of that, as we jump right in, please do us all a favor then and tell us who you are, what it is that you do, and what got you into your space.
So let me start backwards. I am a coach, a balance and restoration coach. That is, long for life coach category. I am an actress as well. And I used to work business in corporate. I worked for Microsoft for about 12 years in sales and marketing. And I'm a mom. I do my yoga, meditation. I'm very much into that, exercising, just living life.
All the things. You have such a diverse background too, which is really interesting. So how did that even start? Like I know Microsoft, and so I'm guessing we started in corporate and kind of built, but then we have actress thrown in there as well. So like what how did this all come about? Because I love it when people have like diverse pieces that they've put together and made their own.
Well, in my case, I think I am coming full circle to where I wanted to be always. As a little girl, I was always dancing, singing, in every play in school, super involved with arts, played in some instruments, not very well. Like I was never professional, very proficient on any of those, but I loved doing any artistic endeavor. But when college came along and I told my mom that I wanted to go to arts and drama school at NYU, she almost died and said, what? No, whatever. And back then, what my mom thought was very important to me. So I didn't do it. And I just kept on the business track. So I studied business and computer science as a minor in Pace University in New York, did the corporate world. And then corporate got to be too much. I had two girls by the time I was in corporate. They were little, getting sick all the time when mom was away traveling, and which I did a lot. So one day after 12 years, I said, this is it. So I resigned from corporate, not knowing what I was going to do. It was not a divine plan or something that just, oh my God, an epiphany no, it wasn't as pretty and romantic as that. I just resigned because it was too much. and family was suffering. And then I went to a workshop for acting just to relax, which a friend suggested because I was too stressed. And that's how it all started. I went back to my love as a little girl. Being in that theater was like, oh my God, like I can't describe it. And then, it started as a hobby. I did one class after another. I decided to go back to New York and study just to see. I didn't decide I was going to be an actress back then. I was just, getting my girls out of Venezuela. It was dangerous at the time. So we went there. And here I am 10 years, 12 years later, an actress and now a speaker, coach. And the other thing we may get into later, but I don't know.
I think it's so interesting. And I appreciate your honesty as well, as far as when you shared your story, you said it wasn't this divine epiphany that you had, just you realized that something was too much. And I think that that's such a beautiful reminder to a lot of people that don't get the like epiphany or the download that this is what they're supposed to be doing. I think that a lot of us get stuck in that, or they feel like they're not doing what they're meant to do because they haven't received that download that everybody talks about, or that light bulb moment. Like you and I feel like are similar in that, where I kind of took a step and took a chance because I needed to do something different, which then led to more open doors, versus some other people that have been really blessed to just be like, this is it, this is what I'm doing, and I'm all in. And so I love your honesty for that, because I think it's a beautiful reminder to so many people that your journey is your journey and you can take it however you want. It doesn't have to be this amazing, the skies open moment for you to try something out and make a pivot in your life to decide to do something different that really fills your heart.
So interesting what you're saying, because, and I've thought about it before, but the way you put it was really, you made me go in and analyze this journey that I've been on. And wow, I'm realizing that I have very few moments where I had this aha breakthrough epiphany kind of thing. Very few. With the coaching thing, maybe was the closest to that. But the rest has really been just one step in front of the other. Just knowing, okay, this is not the journey that I want to be on. Let me go this way. And of course, going towards something that I love, something that I like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it hasn't been like from one moment to the next. It's been growing into it, just enjoying the journey of doing this and then doing that and then the next thing. And oh my God, I like this, I'm enjoying this. Maybe there's something more here. So I would recommend people that don't have, like you say, those breakthrough moments and oh my God, I'm lost. I just know I don't like this, but I don't know what I like. So I get stuck and they do nothing. Just one step at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful reminder. Like I said, it's so real. And I think that sometimes we just get caught up in people's stories, and people are beautiful storytellers, but we kind of forget to fill in the pieces that connect that story. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost. So thank you for that. I think that people need that reminder. And, I know that you categorize yourself as a life coach, but I feel like it's so much more than that. So I kind of want to dive into this a little bit, because what's really interesting is you call yourself a business and restoration coach. And so you have to explain to the audience what that means to you.
So that is connected to a project that I called, or I am calling, Act Feminine. It all started from acting. That's, the word act, where it came from. Actually, the words came, the name of the project came from acting, but how it started was because of my divorce. That was a breakthrough moment. I had been with a troubled marriage for quite some time. I was married 22 years, and the last years were not easy. And I was at an event, and it was a Tony Robbins event, and Tony was doing an intervention on a woman, on a businesswoman, just like me in Microsoft. I felt like I was standing in that room. And all of a sudden, I got this aha of what was missing in my life, and it was my feminine energy. I had heard about that term. I had, you know, a little bit here and there, but it was very elusive to me. And when this was explained and I saw it in this woman, and she was my mirror, and her life and her marriage and everything, it was really wow. I've done therapy before. I searched and searched, and we tried and we looked, and I feel that understanding was really a breakthrough in what was wrong in my marriage and myself. So that started me on the journey of learning about feminine energy and what it meant. What was that? And as I learned, I realized so many of us women today in corporate, in the world in general, many mothers who are at stay-home moms feel they're in their feminine energy, and they're not, because the energy is different from what you're doing, which is the role. So all that learning made me so anxious to share that with my friends, with my family. And I saw so many of my friends reflected in that, and I wanted to teach it. So I did. And then they wanted workshops, which I did. And then they wanted coaching. And as I'm doing this, I'm doing acting. And acting is very much feminine energy in many ways, because you have to let go, you have to be vulnerable, you have to flow, you have to allow. It has a lot of elements of the feminine energy, which I was very afraid of. So this is happening simultaneously in my life. So the natural thing was to call it Act Feminine, because I use in my workshops a lot of acting tools and techniques for women to connect with their feminine. And that's how I got to the coaching. And of course, being a businesswoman, I can't leave that outside. When I'm setting goals with the ladies that do coaching with me, I feel like I'm my boss back in corporate, saying that goal is not measurable. This goal doesn't, it was like I'm actually going over something with one of them as I speak, and I send her back the form, and I'm like, not specific enough. We need more of this. So I can't avoid but to put all of it together in my coaching. And that's why I think you feel that it becomes much more than just one thing.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful how, and I've actually never heard this before, which is why I love this so much. And this is going to stick with me. But, you say that acting in itself has a lot of feminine pieces to it. And I've never thought about that, because like as a little kid, like I loved acting and singing and like all the things. And for the longest time, I had a really hard time connecting with feminine energy. I worked in corporate, I worked in the medical field. You had to be able to stand up to your male doctors to be able to make sure things got done. So letting go and surrendering, like those were such weird words to me for such a long time. And then coming out of an abusive relationship, I didn't have time for feminine. It was, you had to get things done. I had 2 children to take care of. And like, that was the decision, point blank, period. So it's so interesting that you took something that you love and were able to craft it in a way that can really help people understand this flow, which I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well, because we have people that speak about feminine energy and masculine energy. And I think that a lot of times people tend to confuse that, right? If you're female, you should be in your feminine energy. You're male, you have this masculine, but like men, then they'll say are supposed to have feminine and women are supposed to have masculine. Where do you feel like the balance is, or the coexistence of both the feminine and the masculine?
I love this question because it's so confusing, as you say, for many people, right? It took me a while, and I still sometimes when I get asked things or I'm confronted with a situation, I go like, wait, let me see, because it's, we're not trained in this way. So feminine and masculine energy lives in all of us, both men and women, and this is gender non-gender related, nor has it do anything with preference. Gender preference doesn't, you can be homosexual and still have your feminine, masculine energy and need it both. So this has nothing to do with preference or biology, because we all have it. How do I see it? And what's my vision? I'll tell you what my vision is: to have a world where men and women collaborate, cooperate, and create their world together. That's what I would love. And that's what I strive for. I feel we're now in a battle of the sexes. Always have been. But right now, with change in women and the empowerment of women, we're on a straight head-on collision. Because now we're both in our masculine energies most of the time, which is war if it's not channeled well. So both men and women should use both, definitely. And that is happening more now than ever before, because women before were mainly in their feminine energy, men were mainly in their masculine energy, and very little did we go as a sex to the other energy. Now what's happening is women have gone to their masculine, which is great. And that's what we're doing, all the things we're doing, which is fantastic. And it was long overdue. But we went too far for too long. And what I mean for too long is staying in that energy too long. Throughout the day, throughout the weeks, throughout the months, right? And when you operate as a woman, or any human being actually, in one of the energies, mainly there's going to be imbalance and trouble. And the trouble reflects in biology, in hormones out of whack, your health, stress in the body. And it reflects also in your relationships, obviously, because we are colliding instead of cooperating. Now, men, on the other hand, also are going too much to their feminine today. And one could say we have been for decades now, or even a century, asking men to be vulnerable, to open up, to share their feelings. True. Right? Which they needed to do. Heart disease directly related to holding your feelings inside and not sharing them. So yes, they needed to do that. And now this is my point of view on this after all the things that I've studied, because I go into neuroscience and I'm learning, and I go, all the things that are out there, I'm trying to suck as much of it to put into it, because everything affects everything. So men are going to their feminine to avoid conflict with women. When you're in your masculine and you are discussing, negotiating, you tend to compete, right? That's the masculine energy. They want to win. You want to win when you're in your masculine. There is no doubt about that, men or women. It's like, I want to do this and I want to get it done and get it done now. And if both are on that same energy, always it's going to be flash. Now, is the person going to the feminine the weak, the one that's giving in? No, which is a misconception that we have. But men are going there to avoid conflict with women that are in their masculine all the time. That generates a big problem, especially in personal and close relationships. When you switch for too long the energy use. Because though we need to use both, there is one that it's more beneficial, that it enhances your lifestyle a little bit more than the other. And that is for the women to be in their feminine and for men to be in their masculine. Now, does that mean 100% of the time? No. It's just that masculine energy generates testosterone. That's the hormone that naturally is generated from masculine energy use or consumption of your masculine energy generates that in your body. This is, people have been studying this, and when you're solving problems, your brain lights up in a certain way, then your hormones shoot in a certain way, and those are the hormones that are produced for men and women. But testosterone is more beneficial for men to lower stress. They need 10 to 20 times more than a woman just to get out of bed.
Wow.
Right? Not even doing huge things. Just to get out of bed, you need 10 to 20 times more than a woman. Now, women are producing a lot of testosterone throughout the day when that hormone is not beneficial for our stress. It is for men, not for women. For women, it's estrogen, along with progesterone at certain times of the month, and oxytocin. Obviously, it's great for everybody, but particularly for women. But those are not generated usually when you're in your masculine. So why am I explaining this? Because it's great to use both, but for women to lower stress, the feminine is the one that's going to work. For men to lower stress, masculine is the one that's going to work.
So interesting.
I don't know if I confused you more or
no. No. So let me see. Let me break it down for the audience. Okay, so we both have both masculine and feminine, but dependent on who you are at your core, biologically, you have certain hormones that are within inside of the body that work best for you. And so while it's beautiful to be able to lean in and out and coexist in both the masculine and the feminine, understanding who you are at your core or your biology and what you produce also should give you an idea of how to help lower stress depending on what you are needing to do, which makes a lot of sense because I know that for me, because I used to be in my masculine a ton, I didn't really have a lot of stress relief. It was go, go, go all the time. What I can tell you is I do remember when I would take my boys out and we would go hiking and I was just being in nature and just enjoying the flow. I was more at peace, which is actually something that I seek out more now than what I used to, which is really interesting. Whereas my two children, my boys and my husband, have to tinker with things sometimes. Like I know that my oldest one's stress relief isn't to come and sit with mom on the couch and just flow, and like he's like, no, I'm gonna go tinker with something. So he wants to take things apart or he wants to draw. My husband loves to create art. That is their outlet. And while I still have those creative outlets as well, I have noticed that the more time that I actually spend kind of being present and just enjoying what's going on and sometimes letting go of the feeling of needing to do more, things flow better in my life. So maybe that kind of, does that line up with it?
That is great. Yes, you got it. And the reason that when you were hiking, because you see, every activity usually has the use of both, right?
Okay.
And I'll explain what I mean by that.
Yeah.
But when you were hiking and you said, I was in nature, and the trees, the mountain, the soil, all that is feminine energy, because you're connecting to nature, right? That is and just admiring the beauty. Beauty lives in the feminine. Utility lives in the masculine. So when you go to the mountain and you see the beauty of it, you're seeing that from the feminine energy. But then if you turn around and you say, oh, this tree would probably make a great table. I don't know. Then you're using your masculine to see that tree, right? So it all depends on how and the way you do things. If you're eating a soup and you're enjoying the flavor, the smell, the scent, the moment, you're doing it with your feminine. If you're eating the soup and you're thinking, oh, it has carrots, that's going to give me this. And this has minerals and it's great for my body. You're doing it with the masculine. There is a use that you're thinking. There's a utility that you're seeing in the soup. You see, and it's the same activity.
Mm-hmm.
So do we need to do things differently to be in one or the other? No. It's just a switch of how we do what we're doing at the moment.
It's so interesting. And I want to go back a little bit in the beginning where, you were talking about how we need to coexist and cooperate together. And right now we're kind of seeing this huge clash of both of those. And I know you and I kind of talked about this beforehand, but I wanted to bring this to the forefront in this conversation as well about the importance of, one, coexisting, and two, allowing both men and women to be in whatever it is that they are. What I have seen personally is there are tons of women empowerment groups and they're lifting each other up, which is absolutely beautiful. But on the other side, I'm not seeing the women that are lifting our men up. And in my personal opinion, as a mom of two boys who has seen them grow and go through a lot of things, it was very important for me to also allow them space to know what it was like to show emotion and be vulnerable, which is not something that our men is taught. And we can't expect them to change or understand how we are if we don't allow the space to understand how it is that they operate. And I feel like sometimes that is the disconnect with people. I know that it was for me for a really long time until I really started asking questions to both my boys and my husband. Like, okay, this doesn't make sense to me because I would have just done it this way. Why are you thinking of it like this? But the more that I gave them space to just open up and freely explain how they felt and how they see things, there was a way for us to beautifully kind of intertwine both of those visions to understand both sides and allow them to feel safe, which then inevitably allows them to open up more and allow that feminine energy in. And it gave me the space to be fulfilled and nurture them, plus kind of be in the masculine to be like, okay, what are we going to do next about it? So I think that there's this beautiful space that, while I am seeing it happening, I would love to see it more, which is why I love so much of what you're building and what you are creating with your community and what you talk about, because I think that we need more of this cohesion.
100%. And the fact that you have two boys, I think it's a fantastic school. It's a great place to practice this and to see it evolve and happen in your boys, right? So yes, to everything you said, being able to open up as a woman and be vulnerable, because here's the thing, when you're in your masculine, you're very guarded. We don't open up.
Mm-hmm.
Women don't open up in front of a man and doesn't allow her feelings to show, then the connection and the communication is going to be strictly intellectual and very little emotional connection, which is needed. Now, when a man opens up, and let me go back for a second there. When you open up and you become vulnerable, the man tends to want to help.
Yeah.
Right? And there is science. This is incredible, proven that our tears they have a scent that affect men in a very powerful and strong way. Yeah, there is science.
Wow.
There is science. I'll send you some links on that, which is crazy. Because you see that a woman starts crying and a man immediately, if it's someone with a little bit of a heart, right? Or a lie, they get touched. They want to help you. They want you to feel better. It's a natural instinct, right? And so many women use it as manipulation. But anyway, that's beside the point. So men want to help a woman that is vulnerable. But then what happens? We don't let them.
Mm.
The moment they want to help, we go like, no, I don't need any help. No. And though it's true, we don't need any help, and that's training that men need to have to not try to solve a problem, just to have the space for her to open up. We both have to understand each other. We have to understand that what he's doing is from the best place possible, which is to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
That creates cooperation, and vulnerability is a very powerful thing. Now, when a man becomes vulnerable in front of a woman, is huge. It's huge in so many ways. It's huge for the man because he's putting down the sword. It's huge for the woman because she's seeing her man weak, which is not, by the way, but that's what we tell ourselves, right? Oh, they're weak. They're vulnerable. No, being vulnerable, it is not equal weak.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability equals strength. It's the opposite. But we're trained to see it as weakness. So what happens sometimes for some women is they lose attraction for their men if they are vulnerable a lot.
Mm.
When you're in
Interesting.
a relationship. When you're a mother, it's different because they become vulnerable. You go to your nurturing side and make them stronger. Unless you're a woman too much in your masculine and you say, boys don't cry, swallow those tears.
Yep.
And you just made your boys very guarded and not wanting to open up. So it's a dance, right? Women have to allow men to come to their feminine and still see them as powerful and strong. And men have to open up the space for their women to become vulnerable, allow the space for them to be safe, because for women is all about safety.
Mm-hmm.
And men have a hard time sometimes understanding that. And you out of, about safety a lot.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I've been on both sides of the coin when it comes to raising my children. So I think of when I was younger and I was controlling everything and everything was falling apart. So I felt like I needed to be that man because the person I was with wasn't. I taught my kids at a young age to suck it up and be strong because I was taught that. And what was really interesting was when I started going through my healing journey about 5 years ago, and my oldest one started getting into his teenage years, something kind of clicked that, like, okay, this is not going the way it's supposed to. I feel like we're kind of going down the same path of how things were. And it wasn't until I kind of had that light bulb moment of like, oh my gosh, I am pretending to be this perfect parent for my children instead of actually showing them realism. And they are emulating that even in their teenage years. And so that's when I started being very open and honest with them. It's when I started having conversations with them about my failures, about my fears. And while it scared the absolute hell out of me at the time, what happened was amazing, because what happened to my boys is I watched them turn around with the way that they used to conversate with me, and it was in a completely different arena. Now they were coming to me to be open and honest because I was open and honest with them. They always say, when you talk with your children, They do what you tell them. No, they do what they see and they mirror that. And I realized that with my kids. And I think that that was even more of a driver for me to continue to improve and continue to tell them how amazing they are. And it's okay if you cry and you can have a hug. And if you need a second, which neither one of us were ever given that space, but it's been just a beautiful journey to see where our men used to be and even how I was raised, and like how you really can hold a space for them in a way that they feel comfortable, and then they will turn around and know how to do the same thing to you. Like my oldest one has come to me and coached me through things before when I get in a hard place, but it's because I gave that space and I gave that awareness and the no judgment, like let's just figure things out feeling, which was totally new for both of us. But it's wonderful to see when men can have that. You know, my husband is a lot like that. We go back and forth. Sometimes I am having a breakdown and I need him to just hug me, and sometimes he's kind of having a moment and I'm the one that's kind of taking care of stuff. But it's this beautiful dance of whatever someone needs from one another, from time to time, which would have never happened in my other relationships because I didn't feel like I had someone that understood that. So I had to stand in that independence and the one to take care of it. So I don't know, I just really wanted to give that example because what you're talking about, I think is just, it's so beautifully understood, yet it's so simple that I think we miss it sometimes.
It is simple. It's not easy to do, but it's super simple. And let me ask you something that just came to mind. When you opened up and became vulnerable for your kid, or not for, in front of your kids, did you feel also that, you know, they opened up with you as a consequence? But while you were being vulnerable, did you feel them want to protect you? They wanted to keep you safe. They wanted to hold you and support you?
Oh yeah, it was actually interesting because it was almost like this duality of I want to protect and how can I help? But at the same time, it was almost like a relief as well that like,
Mm,
oh, this can be normal. We can
mm.
do this. And so that's where that nurturing part kind of came out as well. So in those moments, I really was looking back, was able to see this duality of both, right? Of this wanting to protect and you're going to get through it, mom, and everything. And the relief of I don't have to hide it anymore.
Beautiful, beautiful. And this is so, so wonderful because when you do that, you're also, you know, you're allowing their feminine to come in and play an important role in their life, which it should, because we have to use both. And also you're opening up the space for them to be in their masculine in a healthy way.
Mm.
Mom is being vulnerable. She feels safe to open up in front of you. And because she knows you will take care of her and not abuse her through the vulnerability. So you're allowing their masculine to flourish, but they're healthy, beautiful masculine.
I love
Because then,
that.
you know, when women open up to them, they are going to know now how to handle that, because the way I do it with mom is the way I'm going to do it with most every woman I encounter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a beautiful, beautiful way to teach them.
Well, thank you for that. I think it takes the ego down a little bit that we kind of get stuck in sometimes. And I feel like that's kind of what happened. And it's actually funny because I love to listen in. I love to listen into my kids when they're talking to their girlfriends. And it's just the sweetest way that they, you know, just love and accept and want to nurture. And it's so wonderful to think of the journey that we've been on and just the few years of teaching them different and showing them different has made such an impact. And I think that a lot of us forget that we have this past, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30 years of one way, and we feel like there's no way to pivot, there's no way to change, there's no way to shift. And my boys are a testament to be able to say that I have taught them the wrong way and I have been able to show them the right way by being it myself. And it is a possibility, no matter what it is that you have been through, no matter how time has gone. The brain is magnificent at absorbing the new ways that we give to it.
100%. And I'm just going to say this very quick. We might not have too much time, but boys, men, especially young men, need a lot of help today. And the whole world turned to help women. And we needed it. You know, for centuries, women were abused, for centuries. So yes, it was needed. Now, there was a void recently of help for men because the world transformed, right? With the empowerment of women, with women wanting, doing the same thing as men. So all the institutions, political, social, economic institutions, have tons of resources for helping women that are abused, empowering women, teaching women this, learning. When you look, there is, I think it's less than 5% of help for men. And men need help because this new world is affecting them as much as it is us. We are still navigating new waters. We still don't know how this new world is, where women can do the same things that men can, mostly because of technology, right? That's a new world. And men are finding themselves, a lot of them, powerless, useless, with very little motivation. And when you look at the stats, and this is no secret to anybody, the suicide in men has been increasing and it's tremendous. It's really a very serious problem. What's happening with boys? Warren Farrell has a great book, The Boy Crisis. I recommend it. I think we talked about it when first time. For mothers of young boys, it's a must read, especially if you're a single mother. It's a huge crisis, and I am becoming a great defender of men because they don't have the resources and the help to pivot to this new world where we are going to use both our masculine and feminine energies and interact in cooperation. We don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. And I just hope that everybody is taking notes to understand. You're so right. Like there's so many changes, there's so many shifts. We have to be able to continue to pivot and realize that both sides equally deserve love and attention. I agree with you. We've needed a lot, and we can't forget our men either. And having two young boys after having two young sisters has really shifted my opinion in the way that I see things and the way that I've noticed that they're hurting just as much as we are. It's just they don't know how to speak about it. So I can't thank you enough, Nana, for having this conversation. With all of this, I think I could talk to you for hours on this subject. But I have one question for you as we're coming to a close, and that is, do you happen to have a quote or a piece of advice you'd like to leave the audience with?
I think understand that biology, role, and energies are different, and we should use our energies, as we have said. I was going to say in equal proportion, but it doesn't necessarily mean equal proportion, but as needed. So all I can say is understand what moment you're in right now and become aware of what the moment needs. And that's the right energy to use.
Oh, I love that. Oh, it's such a beautiful note to leave on. Oh, Nana, thank you so much for just the wisdom and the openness that you're bringing to this conversation and the awareness that I feel like so many of us are looking for. We just don't have the direction in which to find it. And speaking of that, please do us all a favor and share. How can people find you? How can they connect with you? How can they be in your world?
I'm fortunate that Nana Ponceleon I'm kind of the only one, I think. So all my social media, Facebook, Instagram, my website, everything is Nana Ponceleon. So, easy to
Super
find.
simple. Super simple. And of course, everyone will have all that information in the show notes, make it super easy for you guys to find Nana and be able to connect with her and be in her world. And Nana, again, thank you so much for bringing this information into the space and doing what you're doing for this world.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
So welcome to everybody else out there. I hope that this really kind of opened up your eyes to understand and be able to see that we are constantly pivoting and shifting in this world, and it never means that anything is wrong, but it also means that we need to be open and lead in with curiosity in order to help both sides grow, no matter where you are at on this planet. So I hope that you were taking notes. I hope that you follow Nana. We'll be sure to give the information for the book that she recommends as well in the show notes. And until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. So until next time, have a fantastic day. Hello again, and thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today. If you enjoyed this episode and it brought tons of value, we ask that you please share, like, and subscribe. Your support means the world to us and helps us to reach even more inspiring entrepreneurs who can benefit from these powerful conversations. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, as this feedback is an amazing gift that fuels our growth and helps us to continually improve this podcast. Looking for an extra dose of inspiration and empowerment? Then be sure to connect with me on social media. You can find me at The Lotus Effect, where I share valuable resources and tips while sharing my own journey of being an entrepreneur. And if you're interested in learning more about my coaching programs and services, be sure to check out my website at the-lotus-effect.com. Once again, thank you so much for being a part of Real Chat with Kat. Your presence and support makes all the difference. Remember, whether you find yourself in the depths of the mud or on the path of growth, we all have a unique journey. And just like the lotus, some of us start in the dirtiest of mud, yet as we rise and grow, we blossom into something beautiful, unique, and truly one of a kind. To all of my visionaries out there, keep rising and growing as you create your own Lotus Effect.